Imagine this. A single electromagnetic pulse detonates high above your city. Within microseconds, the lights go out, phones die, and cars coast to a stop on every highway. Is your vehicle about to become a 4,000-pound paperweight? Today, I'm breaking down exactly which vehicles will survive an EMP and which ones won't make it past the parking lot. Whether you're a prepper, a concerned citizen, or just someone who wants to understand the real risks we face, this video will answer the question everyone's asking: will my car work after an EMP? The answer isn't simple, and it's probably not what you think. We'll cover modern vehicles, older models, diesels, and the specific years and makes that give you the best chance of staying mobile when everything else fails. Let's start with the science. An electromagnetic pulse, or EMP, is essentially a massive burst of electromagnetic energy that can be caused by, well, a few things. First, nuclear detonation at high altitude, which is the most devastating. Second, solar flares, which are natural EMPs from the sun. And third, non-nuclear EMP weapons, which are smaller scale, tactical devices. When an EMP wave hits, here's the cascade. Step 1. The pulse induces massive voltage spikes in any conductive material: wires, circuits, metal frames. Step 2. These voltage spikes overwhelm electronic components designed to handle 12 to 14 volts in your car. Step 3. Sensitive semiconductors, the building blocks of modern electronics, are either damaged or completely destroyed. Think of it like this. Your car's electronics are designed to sip electricity like a fine wine. An EMP forces them to chug a fire hose of electrical current. The result? Catastrophic failure. Here's what makes this terrifying for vehicle owners. Modern cars are essentially computers on wheels. Your average 2020s vehicle has 50 to 100 or more microprocessors controlling everything from engine timing to power windows. And honestly, every single one of those chips is vulnerable. If you're driving anything from roughly 2008 to present, I have bad news. These vehicles are the most vulnerable to EMP effects. Let's count the vulnerable systems. Engine management, ECU, which is the engine control unit, the brain of your engine, fuel injection controllers, ignition timing systems, emission control modules. Transmission, TCM, or transmission control module, electronic shift controls, torque management systems. Safety systems, ABS controllers, traction control, stability control, airbag modules, everything else, power steering controllers, brake-by-wire systems, digital dashboards, infotainment systems, and even seat position sensors. Just for a bit of context, a 1970s vehicle has 0 microprocessors, a 1990s vehicle has 5 to 15 microprocessors, and a 2020s vehicle has 50 to 150 or more microprocessors. If you're driving an EV or hybrid, you're in the highest risk category. Here's why. Electric vehicles. The entire drivetrain is controlled by sophisticated computer systems. High-voltage battery management systems with multiple controllers, regenerative braking systems, and complex thermal management. Examples of extremely vulnerable vehicles include Tesla, Model 3, Model Y, Model S, Model X, Rivian R1T and R1S, Ford F-150, Lightning, Chevrolet Bolt, any plug-in hybrid, or Fiat EV, 2015 and newer Ford F-150, especially with EcoBoost, 2019 and newer Chevrolet Silverado or GMC Sierra, 2016 and newer Toyota Tacoma. Any vehicle with push-button start, vehicles with fully digital dashboards, and cars with drive-by-wire throttle systems. So, in a high-intensity EMP scenario, here's what actually happens to your car. If it's running, the vehicle immediately stalls and, you'll probably see a bunch of warning lights pop up on the dash. Key systems get fried. I'm talking about the ECU, the fuel pump controller, ABS module, and the transmission controller. Restarting the car? Pretty much impossible, even if a few systems somehow survive, because the critical modules just won't communicate with each other. And honestly, the damage is often permanent. Loads of those chips can't just be reset, they're physically destroyed. Vehicles from roughly 1990 to 2008, they actually occupy a pretty interesting middle ground. They're computerized, but not like over-computerized. The electronic architecture is simpler, which is kind of helpful here. You get fewer networked modules. Some early models don't even have a CAN bus. There are more mechanical backup systems, and the semiconductors are less sophisticated, which ironically works in your favor. Plus, a lot of their systems are standalone, so they don't rely on constant communication. For trucks, you might look at the 1995 to 2004 Toyota Tacoma, the 1999 to 2007 Chevrolet Silverado, the 1997 to 2003 Ford F-150, or the 1996 to 2006 Jeep Wrangler TJ. For SUVs, there's the 1996 to 2002 Toyota 4Runner, the 1999 to 2004 Jeep Grand Cherokee, and the 2000 to 2006 Honda CR-V. Cars? Well, think about the 1992 to 2000 Honda Civic, the 1998 to 2005 Volkswagen Jetta, or the 2000 to 2005 Subaru Outback. In the best-case scenario, your vehicle might stall but actually restarts after the pulse passes. Some systems could fail, but the engine might still run in limp mode. If you've got a spare ECU, you could probably repair things. Worst case, the ECU is damaged beyond repair. But, and this is important, if you've stored a spare ECU in a Faraday cage, you can just swap it out. Vehicles that are parked and off during an EMP have a much higher survival rate. But if they're running when it hits, they're more likely to suffer damage because of the active current flow. If you want the highest probability of post-EMP mobility, honestly, you need to go old school. We're talking pre-1980 vehicles, preferably even pre-1975. These cars work on beautifully simple principles. For fuel delivery, they've got mechanical carburetors, so no electronics at all, and either gravity-fed or mechanical fuel pumps. There's no fuel injection computer to worry about. When it comes to the ignition system, it's all mechanical. A distributor with points and a condenser, maybe just a basic coil, which can be damaged but is super easy to replace. No electronic timing control either. Everything else, it's all mechanical, like the speedometer and fuel gauge. There's no airbags or ABS, manual steering and brakes, and, yeah, zero microprocessors. For top EMP-resistant picks, you might want to look at pickup trucks like the 1973 to 79 Ford F-Series, the 1973 to 80 Chevrolet CK Series, the 1972 to 80 Dodge D-Series, or the 1976 to 83 Jeep J-Series pickups. For SUVs and off-road, there's the 1976 to 86 Jeep CJ5 or CJ7, the 1960 to 84 Toyota Land Cruiser FJ40, and the 1969 to 91 Chevrolet Blazer K5. Cars. How about the 1964 to 77 Volkswagen Beetle, super simple, the 1955 to 72 Chevrolet Bel Air or Impala, or the 1960 to 70 Ford Falcon. Even in these vehicles, though, there's one electronic component, the ignition coil. In a really severe EMP, the coil might get damaged. The good news: coils are cheap, like 20 to 50 quid, and they only take about 10 minutes to replace. Plus, they're easy to keep as spares. Back in 1962, the US detonated a nuclear weapon about 250 miles above the Pacific Ocean, the Starfish Prime test. The EMP knocked out streetlights in Hawaii, which was, 900 miles away, damaged telephone equipment, and disrupted radio stations. But you know what kept running? 1950s and early 1960s vehicles with barely any electronics. Diesel engines have a unique advantage. They don't need spark ignition. They run on compression ignition, which means, fewer electrical systems are required. The diesel EMP advantage comes down to this: no spark plugs means no electronic ignition system. Gas engines, on the other hand, need precisely timed electrical sparks. But diesels? They just need fuel, compression, and well, that's it. Now, when we look at old mechanical diesels, especially those built before 1994, they use mechanical injection pumps, require no ECU, and can actually run with zero electronics. That makes them extremely EMP resistant. Modern electronic diesels, those from 1994 onwards, are a different story. They're computer-controlled, have multiple sensors and modules, and use common rail fuel systems, making them just as vulnerable as gas vehicles. If you're curious about specific models for trucks, you've got the 1988 to 1993 Dodge Ram with the 12-valve Cummins, the 1983 to 1994 Ford 7.3-litre IDI diesel, and the 1982 to 1991 GM 6.2-litre Detroit diesel. For cars, think about the 1977 to 1985 Mercedes-Benz 240d or 300d, and the 1982 to 1993 Volkswagen Golf or Jetta diesel. Why does the military use diesels? Well, the US military predominantly uses diesel engines in tactical vehicles for a few reasons. EMP resistance, fuel versatility, meaning they can run on multiple fuel types, durability, and honestly, it's just easier to shield electronics when there are fewer systems to protect. You can't wrap a car, but you can prepare. Let's be realistic here, you're not going to wrap your entire vehicle in aluminum foil. But there are practical steps you can take. Strategy number 1, store critical spare parts. What should you store? A spare ECU, which is the most critical, an ignition coil, fuel pump controller if it's separate, alternator voltage regulator, and some basic sensors like MAF, O2, and crank position sensors. How do you store them? Use a Faraday cage, like a metal trash can with a lid, or ammo cans with a rubber seal. You can also use anti-static bags inside metal containers. Just make sure to keep them in a cool, dry location. The cost of a spare parts kit can range from $150 to $500 depending on your vehicle. But, honestly, the cost of being stranded, that's priceless. Strategy number 2, choose your daily driver wisely. The best case is a pre-1980 vehicle with a carburetor. A decent compromise is a mid-2000s vehicle with a stored spare ECU. The riskiest is anything from 2015 or newer. Strategy number 3, the two-vehicle approach. Many preppers use this strategy. You have a daily driver that's modern, comfortable, and efficient, and a bug-out vehicle that's pre-1980s, simple, and EMP-resistant. Keep the classic maintained and ready, stored with tools and spare parts, and fueled or with stored gasoline. Strategy number 4, parking matters. Vehicles not running during an EMP have a significantly higher survival rate because there's no active current flowing through the systems, which means less likelihood of cascade failures. The best parking locations are underground garages, which provide natural shielding, or metal buildings that can act as a Faraday cage. Also, try to park away from power lines and transformers. Strategy number 5, DIY EMP protection, and this one's for the seriously dedicated. Some folks shield their vehicle's electronic modules with copper mesh, grounded aluminum foil, or conductive coatings. But, reality check, this is extremely difficult to do properly, might void warranties, can cause cooling issues, and really requires some electrical engineering knowledge. Honestly, a better option is to just buy an older vehicle. Let's talk probabilities for a minute. I need to be honest with you about several things. Point number 1, not all EMPs are equal. A solar flare EMP is less intense than a nuclear one. It mainly affects the power grid more than vehicles, and while some vehicles might experience glitches, they usually restart. A nuclear EMP, especially one at high altitude, is extremely powerful and would disable most modern vehicles. That's really the worst case we're talking about here. Then there's the localized EMP weapon, which has a limited range, miles, not hundreds of miles. It's used tactically and only affects the immediate area. Point number 2, distance from the burst matters. The closer you are to ground zero, the more intense the effect. Vehicles at the edge of the affected area have better odds than those directly underneath. Point number 3, most vehicles won't explode. Despite what Hollywood shows you, cars won't burst into flames. They'll just stop working. No explosions unless the fuel system was already damaged. Point number 4, some damage is repairable. Even in damaged vehicles, the frame, body, wheels, and axles are fine. The engine block is fine. The transmission, at least the mechanical parts, is fine. You're really just replacing electronics, not rebuilding the entire car. With spare parts, many vehicles can be restored to functionality. Alright, let me break this down by what you actually need when it comes to finding an EMP-resistant vehicle. So, let's look at a few scenarios. Scenario number 1. Maybe you just need a daily driver that has some EMP resistance. Your best choices here are the 2000 to 2005 Toyota Tacoma with a manual transmission, the 1999 to 2006 Chevrolet Silverado 1500, and the 2001 to 2005 Honda Civic. These are all simple, reliable options. Why these? Well, they're still totally drivable today, parts are pretty easy to find, they're simple enough that you could potentially fix them yourself, and honestly, they're affordable. Think 5 to 15 grand. Now, scenario number 2, you want maximum EMP protection, but still need something with modern-ish reliability. Here, diesel vehicles are the way to go. Top picks include the 1988 to 1993 Dodge Ram with the 12-valve Cummins, the 1983 to 1994 Ford 7.3-litre IDI diesel, or really any pre-1995 mechanical diesel. The big reasons? These use mechanical injection, no ECU to worry about, plus you get classic diesel durability. You can still find parts for them, and prices run about $8,000 to $25,000. Scenario number 3. You're going full prepper and want the tank. The best choices: the 1975 to 1979 Ford F-250 with 4x4 and a carburetor, the 1973 to 1987 Chevrolet K5 Blazer, the 1976 to 1986 Jeep CJ7, or military surplus like the M1008 CUCV. Those are 1984 to 1987 Chevy trucks. Why these? Absolutely zero computer dependency, simple to repair, parts are still out there, and they're totally off-road capable. Expect to spend somewhere between $5,000 and $20,000. And finally, scenario number 4. If budget is no object and you want the absolute best, you could go for a restored 1970s Ford F-250 4x4, an International Harvester Scout from 1971 to 1980, a professionally restored classic Jeep with upgraded components, or an early Land Rover Defender with a mechanical diesel. But yeah, these are going to set you back. Think 30 to 60 grand or more for a professional restoration. So, whatever your needs or budget, there's an EMP-resistant vehicle out there for you. Alright, let's bust some common myths about EMPs and vehicles. First up, myth number 1. Turning off your car during an EMP will protect it. Well, a parked and turned off vehicle actually does have better odds, but it's not totally immune. The EMP can still induce currents in the wiring, but since there's no active current flowing, there's less chance of catastrophic damage. So, yeah, it's partially true, it helps, but it doesn't guarantee protection. Next, myth number 2. Disconnecting your battery will save your electronics. The reality is, the EMP induces voltage in the wiring and circuits themselves. The battery is just one power source. Your ECU can still get fried even if the battery's disconnected. So, that's false. There's minimal benefit there. Myth number 3. Any vehicle in a garage will be protected. Actually, a standard wooden garage offers zero protection. Only metal-enclosed structures with proper grounding might offer some shielding. Basically, you'd need a Faraday cage effect. So that's mostly false, unless it's a metal building with those specific characteristics. Moving on to myth number 4. New cars are harder to damage because they're more advanced. This one's actually backwards. More electronics means more vulnerability. Your 2023 F-150 with 150 microprocessors is far more vulnerable than a 1973 F-100 with 0 microprocessors, so that's completely false. And finally, myth number 5. EMPs will fry every electronic device forever. The reality is, some devices will be destroyed permanently, others might just experience temporary disruption and recover, and some won't be affected at all. It really depends on things like distance from the blast, whether the devices were powered on, the level of shielding, and the type of components. So that's exaggerated, it's not binary destruction. Beyond just your vehicle, here's something most people don't really think about. Even if your car survives an EMP, you're driving into a world where roads may be blocked by disabled vehicles, potentially thousands of them, accidents from vehicles suddenly stopping, and honestly, panic and chaos everywhere. There's also no infrastructure support, no traffic lights, no gas station pumps working, no way to call for help, and no GPS or navigation systems. Your EMP-resistant vehicle is most valuable if you're in a rural area with open roads, you have a predetermined destination, you've got fuel stored, you can navigate without GPS, and you leave quickly before the roads clog up. But in dense urban areas, even a working vehicle might not help much. You might want to consider bicycle or foot travel and focus on having shelter-in-place supplies. The real question isn't just, will my car survive an EMP? It's, do I have a plan for what comes after? So, the bottom line, will your vehicle survive an EMP? Well, here's what we've learned. The highest risk is with vehicles from 2008 and newer, especially electric or hybrid models. Moderate risk falls on vehicles from 1990 to 2008 with some electronics. Lowest risk is with pre-1980 vehicles that have carburetors and mechanical systems. Here's a simple three-tier approach. First, know your current vehicle's vulnerability. Second, prepare spare parts and protection. Third, consider a backup vehicle if possible. The most important takeaway, you don't need to panic buy a 1975 pickup truck tomorrow, but you should understand the risks, make informed decisions, take proportional precautions, and focus on overall preparedness, not just vehicles. Remember, vehicle preparedness is just one piece of the puzzle. Also focus on food and water storage, medical supplies, communication plans, community connections, and, of course, skills and knowledge. Drop a comment below and let me know, what vehicle do you currently drive? Are you considering an EMP-resistant backup? What's your biggest concern about vehicle vulnerability? If you found this helpful, hit that subscribe button. We cover preparedness topics every week. Share this with someone who needs to see it. Until next time, stay informed, stay prepared, and keep those wheels rolling.